Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Todd Evans back. We are here, and we are here to do our Matthew Sweet series. In fact, this is our final episode. We are wrapping this series up. Tonight we're going to take a look at Modern Art, Tomorrow Forever, Tomorrow's Daughter, Wicked System of Things, and Catspaw. You heard it here, kids. We're wrapping this one up. So without any further ado, let's get this one started. Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight Todd Evans is back, and we are we're wrapping up this series. This is yet another episode in our Matthew Sweet series that we started a year ago, and we're at the point now where we can wrap this one up. So tonight we're going to look at several records. We're not looking at Under the Covers, since we consider that, it's a Matthew Sweet project, but it's Susanna Hoffs too, and there's nothing. I think those series are great, but we're not looking at that within the Matthew Sweet catalog. So tonight we're going to take a look at, the last album, Catspaw. The other record I want to bring up, which was a record store day release, Wicked System of Things, which came out in 2018, I'll leave it there for right now. Tomorrow's Daughter, and the other companion record, Tomorrow Forever. Last time we looked at Sunshine Lies, and we didn't look at Modern Art, but we'll look at that. All these albums, Modern Art came out in 2011, and Catspaw came out in 2021. So there's a span. There's been quite a few records. And anybody who's watched this channel or watched the series know how much we love Matthew Sweet. And we're just looking at these records, giving our thoughts on them. And I know we're looking at 4 or 5 records here, so I'm not exactly sure. I'm being honest with my people out there in the viewer land. How we're really going to tackle this? Yeah, we can do that.
You want to just start with Modern Art, and then we can, at the end, we can kind of pull it all together?
Yeah, let's do that. We'll just keep it quick and easy because, let's be honest, this isn't girlfriend material. This isn't Altered Beast. We're later into Matthew's career. He's been fairly prolific during this whole era. Let's just start out. Todd, just go ahead and give me your thoughts on Modern Art. That was the 11th studio album that he put out, and it came out on Missing Piece Records in 2011. Came out on CD, 2 LPs, digital download. I'm not sure, was that the record that he put out like through one of those, what do they do when people are going out and trying to earn money for a record?
Well, the Tomorrow Forever was a Kickstarter record.
That Kickstarter.
But I feel like there was some fundraising about this. I feel like I threw a couple of bucks at this. I don't remember exactly what the deal was, but it doesn't. I couldn't find anything about that. I think it might have been just that he had a pre-order for it.
Yeah, that's probably it.
And sold it directly. That's the only thing I can think of.
All Music gave this record 3.5 stars, which is fine. It's not Altered Beast or Good Girlfriend worthy or in that, area. But anyway, Todd, give me your thoughts on this real quick. We'll just zip through these because I don't think we really have to go too deep on these, but okay.
No, I don't think so. When you and I ranked his albums, I put this last. But I think that its biggest weakness is that it starts really slow. This album kind of has and we talked about this before. It kind of starts with Living Things, although Living Things is about 3/4 of a great album.
I know.
But
the whole record.
It starts this whole, and I don't know whether it's because I'm not super familiar with psychedelic music, but there's this whole kind of psychedelic kind of looseness about it from the later records that sort of, and I think it really peaks here, where things kind of sort of fall apart on purpose. Like on Living Things, he started ending almost every song, which is kind of this, like the drummer dropped the sticks, this really kind of.
I think a lot of this stuff started out like on Girlfriend. Think about it.
Yeah, it did a little bit.
But Girlfriend,
you got Brendan O'Brien tightening things up for the next, for
Right.
those 2 albums after Altered Beast. But Oh Olden Days, the first song, is terrible. I just don't have anything good to say about that song. It's just a train wreck. Ivory Tower is not much better. She Walks the Night puts the falling apart thing that's usually at the end of the song right in the middle of the song. It
Mhm.
just
Yeah, it doesn't quite fit.
deconstructs
Doesn't quite
in the
fit.
middle of the song, which is funny because there's a song there, but for whatever reason, he thought it would be cool to just kind of let it fall apart. Um, After that, with the exception of My Ass is Grass, which I think is terrible, the rest of the
Well,
songs are
that's
really not
just
that bad.
filler. Filler.
Modern
Filler,
Art
Todd.
comes really close to being a kind of a in reverse kind of song. The layered background vocals are kind of there, and the chorus is really pretty, and there's Mellotron on it, and so Modern Art gets to that's probably the best song, I think. But
Hmm.
I'm not crazy about the album. I think it's sloppy. I think it's doesn't hold together. But that's kind of my. Are we ranking? Are we giving these star ratings? I don't remember. What have we been doing?
We don't have to. I think
Yeah,
all these
I
records aren't going to, well, other than one record in the batch,
yeah.
there's only
We
one
may
of
have
these that
different ones for that, but yeah, I'm not
I
gonna
don't know.
rank it. I don't like
You
it.
can give me a
I think it's
rank, a
his worst
star.
album.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Yo,
not
you want
really,
me to give it a star rating?
yeah, what the hell? Go ahead.
Out of 10?
Sure. Go
4.
ahead. Okay, 4.
4.
Fair enough.
4 out of 10.
I can't argue with that. I mean, Rick Ment's back on there. He's playing drums. You get the same crew back on this record. Dennis Taylor, I'm not sure who Dennis Taylor is. We might have brought him up on this, but pretty much this is Rick and Matthew Sweet. This is their record.
Mhm.
And I
And that
think
won't be the last time he does it that way.
no. The
Yeah.
thing is that we talked about on the last episode is that we need a Brendan O'Brien. We need someone in here to rein Matthew in. I know he's an artist. I'm not faulting him. He can do
No, and
what
I
he wants
usually
to
like it
do.
when people make records like that, but he needs somebody, even if it's just to drop by when the tracks are mostly done and listen to them and give feedback,
Yeah,
I
I agree.
think would have been helpful.
For
But,
me, when
I don't make
I
records. So,
no, but you know how to listen to one. But what I'm saying is a lot of this stuff on here, I don't know if I could even give it 3.5. I agree with everything you say. I just think it's just like it's just not fully baked. And I think
yeah,
a lot of the ideas on the record need to be, and I think there's a lot of great tracks on here somewhere. But the idea where things just kind of fall apart and are too loose, where you just kind of lose the cohesiveness. I don't know. Some people can really do that, but I really don't like. I don't want to sound too harsh. I love Matthew Sweet. When Matthew Sweet's great, he is top notch.
yeah.
But I just don't think this is top notch Matthew Sweet. I don't know if he was doing too much with Susanna Hoffs. He's burned out, couldn't come up with anything. I just think that the songs on here could be. What do I want to say? They just seem half baked, like I said before.
They they seem like they may be in demo form. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think they are. I mean, I think he intended for these to be the final versions, but
But
they
think
need
about it.
finishing.
Is he really a recording engineer? Is he really a producer? Anything that he's doing on his own could be considered a demo. You just could look at it and go, well, that's a
Right.
demo. Or it
It's
could
a demo
not
with
be.
Rick Menck on it.
It's some demo with Rick playing drums. So I don't want to be too harsh, but then
Same here.
again, this isn't quality Matthew Sweet. So I would probably give it, oh God. You gave it a 3 out of 10?
I gave it 4 out of 10
Well, I can't give it that. I'll probably give it a 2 out of 10.
because I like hearing his voice.
Oh, well, I like that too, but
I like Rick, and I like the some of the good. I think that there's usually interesting guitar work on Matthew Sweet albums, even if I don't like the album. And so I gave it a 4 just for those
I
three
mean,
things.
Matthew Sweet as far as guitar. Well, you got Dennis Taylor, who I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't either.
But Matthew's playing bass, guitars, piano, mellotron, organ, percussion, and vocals. I mean, as a
Yeah.
bass player, he's great. I'll give him that. I'm not sure who Dennis Taylor is. Maybe he's part of the touring band, and I just don't know any of his work. He could just be some guy hanging out in Nebraska, for all I know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it 2. I don't think anybody should start here. I mean, it is what it is. But we can go on. Well, we're gonna hold on, kids. Let me make sure I'm not missing something in the. Okay, here we go. Sorry. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, I wanted to make sure I was in doing these in order. Up next,
It's a little cloudy when you get to this era.
well, they're because it's all this. Well, think about it. Tomorrow Forever and Tomorrow's Daughter are related. Tomorrow's Daughter are basically what was rejects from Tomorrow Forever, pretty much. I don't want to use that. I shouldn't say rejects, but they were passed over. And maybe he tweaked them, maybe he refined them. I'm not sure. But let's look at Tomorrow Forever from 2017. That's on HONEYCOMB Hideout, which I'm assuming is Matthew Sweet's label that he developed.
Pretty cool
cover.
cover.
Yeah, the cover's
have some
good.
good
It's
information
better.
about who's on the record. Wait, am I showing the right thing? Wait,
Yeah,
nope,
well,
that's
you're
the
on
wrong
the
one.
inside.
There we go. Debbie
Yeah.
Peterson, Gary Louris.
Yeah, we've
Ron
got more
Argent.
people on this record. We've got Paul Chastain, who's in the same band with Rick. They're in God, I just had a brain problem. They're in
Velvet
Crush.
Yeah.
They're great. Paul and Rick's been playing with Matthew for a long time. Debbie Peterson from the Bangles. There's a lot more people. It's just not Matthew Sweet running wild in the studio. We've got like a band here playing, so it's great.
So my take on this album is that it's much improved. I think from this. Well, I say much. It's improved. My biggest gripe with it, quite honestly, is that it's too long. For this kind of music, 17 tracks is a lot of tracks. There's nothing bad on here though. There's nothing on here I don't like. Pretty Please, maybe. I'm not crazy about. But there's some songs I really like on here. Circle and Haunted and Country Girl, Music for Love, Come Correct. There's quite a few. Hello, I really like. I like Carol. Makes me wonder if it's about who that's about. But anyway, I think it's much better.
I think it's much better too.
It's still a little looser than I'd like it to be. I'd like it to be tightened up a little bit. I feel like, my complaint that I mentioned earlier about how he doesn't quite get the layered vocals right. I think maybe he had help with that. I think he's trying to do it. But and this surprised me, and we'll talk about this more as we go along, but I feel like I used to think that all of these albums were kind of weak, but I feel like from Modern Art to this and moving forward, they start getting a little better. Each one starts to get a little better. Like maybe he knows he's trying to figure out how to do the I'm making my own album at home kind of thing without anybody helping me. So I'm going to give Tomorrow Forever I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10.
I'm not going to give it quite that high of a rate. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. We're on the right track. I like it that we've got more musicians on the record, because you remember when Blue Sky on Mars came out, that was just like Brendan O'Brien, Matthew Sweet, maybe Rick meant playing drums. I don't know. It was pretty well. No, who played guitar in it? No, I think Matthew did.
That was Matthew Sweet played the guitar on it, which people were disappointed that it didn't have the people that were on the previous couple
didn't have
of
Robert
albums.
Quine or
didn't have Robert Quine, right?
Holy crap! Of course not. But this is better. This is more flushed out. I think.
But I think Blue Sky on Mars with Brendan O'Brien's production saves it.
And I think the songs on there, at least in that era,
yeah.
I remember when it came out. We've talked about this album already, but I always thought, uh-oh. Oh no, I see a little slipping here. But now you look back on that record and I love everything about it.
Yeah, same
If the
here.
songs on here could match what was on Blue Sky on Mars, I'd be just tickled. But you
Yeah,
can't, none of these artists are XTC that can just crank stuff out continuously, top-notch stuff. You don't have that very often, you know. And I'm not saying this is a bad record, but you look at what came before. You try to
yeah.
look at these records with a fresh eyes and fresh ears, you know. And it's hard because you look at the greatness of what that came before. Let's say this record came out. Well, let's say this was his debut album. How would you look at it?
I
You hadn't
think
heard of
that I would
anything else.
I think I would think it was interesting.
Mhm,
I might like it a little more if it was
mhm.
the only thing I heard. But, this kind of music, would you even hear it?
No,
If this was his debut,
no.
would we even know what it is?
If Scott Byron heard this, would Scott Byron sign him?
Right.
Valid question. Scott
Yeah.
Byron, I know you're going to watch this. Please leave a comment below.
Mhm. Well, I think one of the things that would happen is that if this were part of the album, that he would get some notoriety
Right.
because of that guest list. But
But I'd
who
probably
knows?
give it, would you give it a 6,
You
6.5?
know what? I want to change it
All
because I
right.
need to go somewhere. I said 6.5. I'm going to say 6.
I think 6 is fair. I'd probably
Yeah.
give it a 5. It's just in the middle. Metacritic gave it a 77 out of 100. All Music gave it a 3.5, just like they gave the last one. The reviews for it, they're hovering around, 6, six and a
Yeah.
half out of 10, pretty much. Maybe a little higher, but would this be a record I would recommend? No, no, it's fine though. Any Matthew Sweet, I'll be glad to have anything Matthew puts out. I'm supporting. I'm not being judgmental. You know what I mean. Well, I am because we're reviewing the damn thing. But I'd give it, 6 is fine. I don't know. It's better than
I
what
think
came
if you
before.
were, I mean, some of these later albums that have had vinyl releases, I think if you were in a record store and somebody picked it up and said, "Hey, should I get this?" I'd probably say, "Yeah, you should."
But think about it. This has so many tracks on it. This was a 2 record. I should have pulled it. I've got it up there.
Well, I don't
But
know
it's a
if Tomorrow
2 record
Forever
set. It's
has
a
one, but I know that the I think that Catspaw has a vinyl release, and I
No,
think it's
this
still
came. I've
available.
got the
But
vinyl of this up in the.
oh, you
I
do?
should have.
Okay,
Yeah, I got it. It's a 2 record set.
okay,
That's a lot. It's a
yeah,
lot. This record, I think, should have been edited down even more because it started out with what, 38 songs.
hmm
He edited it down to the 17. The remaining 21 came out on the next record. So we might as well talk about that. That's a perfect segue to Tomorrow's Daughter. So
yeah.
yeah, these 2 albums, you might as well just look at them as the same album. They're just part 1 and part 2. But these
Very
are the songs that were
similar,
rejected.
very
Yeah.
similar guest list. I don't know if anybody can see that.
Yeah.
Rick Met Debbie is back, and yeah, so it's pretty much the same folks. Something really interesting though about this record, it there's what it looks like. Yeah, I like it better. I like it better than Tomorrow Forever, and I don't know if that's my brain playing tricks on me because it's 12 songs instead of 17. I like that
Wow.
it's
That
side
probably
A and
helps.
side B that works good with my nostalgic feeling of thinking that records should have a side A and a side B.
Yeah.
But I think some of these songs are actually pretty strong. I like pretty much side A doesn't start weak, but I think from Lady Frankenstein to Through Out of My Misery, those are pretty strong songs.
Hmm.
And I like side two too. I don't think it falls apart or I like Can't Pretend a lot. I don't think it falls apart or, loses steam. I think that I don't know what it is, like 38, 39 minutes long, something like that. I think that's about right. And I think
Yeah,
it's a
I
better
wish.
record.
I think it helps it because you're
Yeah,
not overloaded with too
right.
much information.
Right.
You know,
And I
just
would give it and it's not like this album is taxing to listen to. Because
no.
even though it's 17 tracks, they're pretty short tracks. It moves along pretty quickly, but
Mhm.
12 works better.
Yeah,
I'm
just
gonna give
because
that
we're in the, Todd, just because we're in the CD, well, we're not in the CD era
not
anymore.
anymore.
I don't, just to fill up a whole CD worth of tracks. I'm just saying, because that's exactly what Tomorrow Forever, what we'll look at it.
Yeah,
Let's fill as much as up of the CD we can, you
yeah.
know. Uh,
But I think that Tomorrow's Daughter is a better record. I give it a 6.5.
okay. The reviews on this, we're talking 3.5, 2.5 American Songwriter, whatever that is. Rolling Stone gave it 3.5.
Is
I
that a
mean,
five or 10?
this is out of 5.
Okay.
The other ones are out of 5 too.
Okay.
I mean, it's getting the same reviews that the previous record have. Well, it's the same record. It's just more
Mhm.
songs.
Yeah.
But you listen to it, you think this is a better record. It's just funny that these songs were the ones that didn't make it.
I'm not sure what their edit process was like.
Mhm. Well, I don't know if you're a
I wouldn't
Diva
have cut some
fan.
of these,
You remember
but
the record they put out on Warner Brothers like 10 years ago, Devo did? And
yeah,
they've got the blue helmets.
yeah,
And, okay, great record. It
yeah. I
is
like that.
it is Devo, like we want Devo to sound. They
Yeah,
put that out they did like some kind of test group. You've seen
the
like
Devo song study.
this is Devo song
I'm
study,
getting older, but I vaguely recollect it.
but they had people vote which songs they wanted on it, which is kind of a cool idea. If
Mhm.
Matthew would have, I don't know what Matthew did here, but it could have been something similar. But they ended up putting out the songs that were rejected on a separate CD, kind of like what
Yeah.
Matthew did. And, I like a lot of, I almost, it's just weird that you mentioned that you might like this better. I almost like the songs on the rejected Devo CD better.
Sometimes I think my mind plays tricks on me and gets me to be more sympathetic to those songs because they got cut. So that has a real. I used to have this problem in the 80s. If I listen, and I know people that still struggle with this, and I don't know if this is related or not, but I think it is. When
Yeah,
an album
good.
comes out, if you listen to a song like for 3 weeks or a month, like that comes out on a single before an album comes out, you'll disconnect it from the album. I did
Mm-hmm.
that with that Genesis Shapes album because I heard Mama a month before because it came out at an import 12-inch, and I thought Mama is spectacular. I thought after Abacab, which I liked, but Mama has just got all this drama in it, and it's creepy and weird, and I thought it would. But when Shapes came out, I was underwhelmed with it. And for years and years and years, I would have to train my brain to think of that album as, Mama's the first song on that album. So if you're going to talk about that album, you really just talk about that track because it leads
Mhm.
it off. But
Yeah.
that's kind of how I feel about albums that come out as like a part two. They come out of the gate kind of they separated, and you think of them as being rejected tracks. And the first thing my brain goes to, well, why did they reject these? They sound good to me. And at that point, I almost find it hard to be objective about which one of these is better
Mhm.
because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this one's better. Do you know what I mean? That was a really
I don't think
complicated way to
anybody's
say
right or
sometimes
wrong.
I can't trust my brain.
Well, you remember when we were talking to Scott Byron and I asked him, I said, why? Like you look at all the stuff that was on Altered Beast. They
Mhm.
had all those extra EP CDs, remember?
Right.
With all these tracks that are, oh my God,
Yeah,
phenomenal.
I got them all over there.
But the tracks on there should have been on the record because they're better than what's on the record.
But are they?
In my eyes, some of them are. And
Or like in my case, sometimes I feel sorry for songs that get rejected, and then I want to champion them.
but I don't know if they were. I don't know. I need to ask Scott Byron this again. I don't know if those songs were actually rejected.
Yeah,
He
I don't know
said
either.
that maybe they just didn't fit the continuity or the way the album flowed. It's not Matthew liked all of them, but
Right.
maybe they didn't quit. They didn't quite fit in. So if you look at Tomorrow Forever and Tomorrow's Daughter, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know how they came.
But it seems like Matthew's the boss there. So
well, Scott said Matthew's the boss, because I said, well, Scott, what opinion do you have? He said, well, we just let Matthew choose what he wants on these records.
Yeah.
So they kept hands off.
Another situation to that I can think of is around the time of I guess 96, around the time that Elvis Costello made that All This Useless Beauty record, Elvis Costello and the Attractions. There was a B-side to one of those CD singles, and it's called Basement Kiss. And I think that song is one of Elvis Costello's best songs.
But look at a lot of Elvis's
he
early
probably
stuff.
thinks, oh, that's too derivative of my early work. Who knows what he thinks of it?
Right.
It's like a track 3 on a CD single. It's a deep, a CD single of a deep cut of the album. But sometimes you hear one of those B-sides and you just think, oh man, why didn't this make the record?
That's what I kept asking myself with Matthew Sweet.
Matthew Sweet's got a ton of those.
And he's got tons, and he's just done a lot of soundtrack work. My plea to the Matthew Sweet camp is, why can't we put out a compilation, gather all this stuff? Maybe time has passed. Maybe it's too late. I'm sure there's people in the Matthew Sweet community that would love that. Let's gather all those weird tracks on like a box set. It's like when Jellyfish put out a box set with all their stuff.
Yeah.
Put out a box set with all The Cure, all the B-sides and stuff. Do something. I'm sure the Matthew Sweet community would snatch that up, But the only
an altered beast that's a 2-disc set that has a second disc with all of the songs from that era.
Well, but
like
if you got the Super Audio CD of Altered Beast has everything on it.
Oh, does it? Okay. All right.
And
I don't have that.
Okay, but you can play the Altered Beast on the CD player. So it's like a dual layer. But it took all the stuff from the EPs and they put that on there too. So it's inclusive. But there's so much more. Well, go ahead,
I'm sorry.
There's the 2 CD bootleg. And we do not promote bootlegs on this channel, but there's a great Matthew Sweet bootleg from the Altered Beast sessions. And there's a lot of great songs that are just sitting on the bootleg,
Mm-hmm.
We were talking to Scott Byron about it, stuff, they might make a copy for somebody and then somehow it ends up somewhere. But that's what happened with the Altered Beast. There's a lot of great stuff that never really came out, but put that all on the box set. I know we're getting on a tangent, but what I mean.
I do remember that I did not contribute to the Kickstarter for this.
I didn't,
because I was burned by this. So that's one thing. That's just one thing that I just remembered just now. And then Tomorrow Forever came out, and I felt kind of bad that I didn't kick in any cash to help him make it.
Well, we spent a lot of time on that one, but that's okay. The next record we're looking at is Wicked System of Things from 2018. This was a vinyl only release that came out on Record Store Day. Now, I happened to get one of these copies. I got this at Shake It Up. I was looking for it, okay, because I went, oh my God, I should have got it then. No, actually, the story is, kids, bear with me. On Record Store Day, my local store ordered it, okay? I don't know how it worked, but they never got a copy of this. I could have got one, but they got some kind of notification that maybe it was something caught it, something hindered it from being released. It didn't make it for Record Store Day, but that's what it was for. So probably a lot of these stores got it later and not on Record Store Day.
I saw it in a Record Store Day and had no idea what it was, and for whatever stupid reason didn't buy it.
Yeah, because now it's expensive.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you how much I spent on that. But anyway, I got it. Now, I've been reading some things, like in the Matthew Sweet chats and stuff and Facebook. When is Wicked System of Things, is that out on CD? Is that ever going to come out?
No, it's not out on anything but that record you're holding in your hand.
It's the only one. But the thing is, well, this whole thing, okay. First of all, this whole project came about because Matthew's going to do a collaboration with Tom Peterson and Rick Nielsen, the Cheap Trick, and that kind of fell through. So Matthew Sweet decided, well, I've got all these songs, so he put out a record for Record Store Day in 2018, and this is what we've got. Now, this record deserves to be out in some kind of digital format or more notoriety than what it gets, because
at least let us stream it, because
I think it's stronger than the
there are 3 songs on YouTube, and I think that's it. Yeah.
I mean, if you like the girlfriend stuff, we've got more people on here, though. We've got Rick's back on drums. Jason Victor's playing lead guitar. It's more of a band effort, okay? Some of these people that are on it, I don't know, but doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I don't care. This is more, I listen to this and I think it's very refreshing. It's more like older Matthew Sweet to me. It's a lot of guitar, a lot of noisy guitar, but I think it seems to me, God, I don't know if I'm looking at it in a better light than I should, because it looks like it's supposed to be a throwaway. Like Kumi's like a throwaway, but oh my God, it's great.
Right.
But I look at this like this is kind of like a return to form. It's a raw, but it's like it's more girlfriend like than what came before.
I think you like it a little more than I do, but
Okay,
I do
love it.
like it.
I
I
love
do
it.
like it. I think it's pretty good.
I think it's.
If I
We'll
see
get
it again, I'll buy it, but I haven't having
good.
some trouble seeing it.
Good luck. I think this has got. Oh
I
yeah,
have
this
heard
has
the whole
got.
album, but I don't own it.
This is while we're playing show and tell. Here's what the vinyl looks like.
Nice.
I mean, it could look better. It could be cooler, but you know, that's what it looks like.
Looks all
And
right to me.
when I bought it at Shake It Up Music, the guy said, yeah, there was a guy that was a big collector. And he said, I doubt he even played it. He would just buy everything on Record Store Day and just, he decided he was getting out of it and then he just sold it. So I said, well,
I
I'm
know some
glad you
people
had
like
it.
that.
Well, I'm glad you have it. So now I have everything. But I would highly recommend it if you see it in the wild. What would you rate this? I mean,
I would give it the same rating as Tomorrow's Daughter, 6.5.
I would probably give it, well, you got to think of everything else that came before. I would probably
But
give it a solid 7.
but again, I haven't had any time to let it percolate because I've only got like a cassette copy of
Right,
it. So so I don't, I've not listened to it repeatedly. I've only heard it like 3 or 4 times. So if I owned it and played it a lot, I'd probably like it better.
Yeah, I would recommend it. Me personally, if you like early zoo entertainment, Matthew Sweet, you probably dig this. A lot of great guitar on it. It's a more raw, it's more of a raw experience. It kind of reminds me of Girlfriend. It's no Girlfriend, kids, but I'll take it. I
Yeah.
will take it. All right, so there you go. So now we're on to the last album, Catspaw, which came out in 2021. That record, you know what? When it came out, I didn't buy it right away,
I didn't either.
but I thought, whatever, I'll get it. Now, this record, kids, had gotten a lot better reviews. See, we were Wicked System of Things kind of, I don't know, maybe it reinvigorated Matthew Sweet. Maybe, hey, doing that project with the Cheap Trick might, I don't even know it fell apart. I
Well,
don't know.
here's what I think of this record.
Yeah.
I know it's a CD. First off, it's well done. It's a great design. It
Okay.
looks like when I first saw it, I thought it was going to be better than it is because it just looks great.
Okay.
And again,
I
12
thought you
songs,
were going to be critical.
perfect length. But I like this album. I think this is the best album since Living Things. I really do.
Mhm.
I think it's pretty good. The one song, the 4th track, Come Home, that would come close to being like a top 10 song for me of his. I think it's as good as his good period. I don't think that that I was kind of, when I heard the album, I was kind of hoping it would get better towards the end. And I wouldn't say that it does, but it doesn't get worse. It doesn't, it
I
doesn't run
think
on the
it's I
scene.
think it's a well, yeah, I agree with you there. I
And
can't pick anything out here that particularly, for one, the record only runs 39 minutes. Thank you.
which is
Thank you,
perfect.
Jesus. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I don't mind the production so much. And I think Matthew Sweet, as far as guitar playing on this, I think he sounds great.
I think that my favorite thing about it is he's credited with playing Hofner bass guitar.
Yep.
The bass sounds great.
He's
The
always played
engineering
a
of the
Hofner.
bass
The
really
bass,
sounds good though.
the bass on Girlfriend's a Hofner.
Mhm.
Matthew's always played a Hofner bass.
But it's well recorded on here,
Mhm.
and I've never felt that way about any of his self-produced records until this one. When I heard it, I thought, this sounds good.
Well, and this record got better reviews too. All Music
Not
gave it
Brendan O'Brien good, but it sounds good.
no, but for Matthew Sweet, good.
Yeah.
It's good. All Music gave it 4 stars. Mojo gave it 4 stars. Uncut gave it a 7 out of 10. I would easily probably give this. God, I got to think about what my ratings were in the past. I don't want to boost it too high. I'd probably give it 7.5.
I give it 7.
It's better
Yeah.
than the previous record, even though no one got to hear it.
Yeah.
Um, but that previous record, Wicked just seems to have this charm about it that I like. I don't know.
I
But this
think
is
if I
great.
actually put this in like a regular rotation, like put it in the car and listen to it every day for a couple of weeks,
Mhm.
I think that I would really come around to it. I think it's
Yeah.
got that kind of potential. Whereas
Well,
some of his previous couple of albums, I wouldn't even bother trying to do that with.
right. So if someone was looking to get into Matthew Sweet and you picked a later album, where would this stand up for you? Would you say, hey,
If I had to
you know
pick
what?
one that
You could
was,
check this out. Maybe you might like it. Would you
yeah,
recommend
if
this
I
one?
was to pick one post Living Things, it would definitely be Catspaw.
So do you think Living Things is better, or do you think this is better?
I think Catspaw is probably better at being consistent,
Mhm.
but I think Living Things has higher highs.
I agree. This album, I'm not trying to, I hate to being so critical, but I can't think of any track on here that, well, maybe, is there a track on here that really stands out to you? Or is it just
Yeah,
like, oh, these are all pleasant songs and
no,
they
Come
just,
Home does.
Mhm.
Come Home does, and I like Parade of Lights too, and I like Challenge the Gods, and I like Blown Away. And there's probably 4 or 5 that stand out, but especially Come Home.
But there's probably 4 or 5 on Living Things that stay, obviously.
Yeah,
The highs on Living Thing, very high,
yeah.
you know. I don't know if this album gets quite to that level, but things change, people change, artists change. This is what Matthew okay, let's just keep it simple. Since Wicked System of Things, it seems like we're on a roll now. I think, like I said, I think possibly, even though this didn't get any notoriety and no one knew about it, and it does deserve to be released some kind of digital thing. Matthew may not like it, but I think the general consensus in the community, I think the fans like this record and they want
Yeah.
it out digitally. I think from that record, I think we're on an upward trajectory. You know what I mean? I like what I hear on Catspaw. I personally, I think the album artwork's okay. It doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't
The only
scream.
thing I could
Also,
say
a
bad
lot of
about it is that,
his releases haven't screamed to me, say, hey, buy me. Like you go through the bins and you could look at a record and you go,
yeah.
holy crap, I've got to get it.
But I mean, I sort of don't like the fact that it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the album, like the title and the photo.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the graphic design is good.
Okay, good. That's excellent. But that's the last thing we've heard from Matthew, and that came out in January of 2021. So I don't know what he's up to. He did put out that Kate Bush. Did you hear that? Like a
Yeah,
digital.
the version of Wuthering Heights. It's pretty good.
It's good. I don't know if that means there's something on the way. Matthew's been pretty quiet, so I don't
Well,
know.
if I may be wrong about this, I should have researched this before I came on, but I think that somebody in his organization, or maybe even his wife, encouraged him to put that out because he made it and didn't do anything with it. And then
Mhm,
when everybody started talking about Kate Bush again, because she sort of had a little resurgence,
mhm.
they thought, hey, you should probably just kind of throw this out on
Yeah,
the
it's kind of
streaming
like a
platforms.
tribute. I mean, it was great.
It got a little bit of a, and he's known for doing, some pretty good covers. So it I think it was a good idea to do
Yeah,
that.
that
But this is what I would really like to see. I would like to
okay.
see him make another record no matter what. But I
Mhm.
would like to see him go to LA with a producer and 12 songs, and let somebody else take the wheel.
I agree
I would
100%. I think that's
that,
what's lacking in
that's what
all
I would like to see.
these homespun records. But, I don't know what kind of budget he has. He's got a home studio. He really
So
is just putting these all out independently. So he probably has
yeah.
no budget at all, you
So
know.
Russell Carter, if you're out there, he lives in my town. Maybe if I go outside and shout really loud, he'll
Yeah, throw Matthew
he'll
some money.
he'll hear me.
Maybe he might. Yeah, I think he just needs someone. I think he needs a
Somebody's
producer.
got to give him a little bit of money.
Yeah. Let's really make something. Because I think
Yeah.
there's a lot there. We just haven't, God, but think about it. Girlfriend came out in
He's only
91.
58 years old. He's a year younger than me.
He's born in 64.
Yeah, he's not too old to do this.
Hmm. I'm sure we'll see more from Matthew. But out of all these later records, you would not be hesitant to recommend this.
No, not at
Okay,
all.
there you go. Well, there you go, kids. Wow, we've wound this series up. We're done. It's taken
Yeah.
us a year, and I'm not saying this is the most successful series I've had on my channel, but it's fun to talk Matthew Sweet. And, Todd and I thought that Matthew needed more love, and it's been a great series. I mean, for God's sakes, kids, we had Scott Byron on here. And
Mhm.
if that wasn't a highlight, I don't know what would be, because he just totally, his insight to what went on back in those early days of Girlfriend, just great, you know. It's
And
too bad.
it's kind of a go. I'm sorry, Rand.
No, I was
Grant, go
just going
ahead.
to say real quick, it's too bad that Zoo folded, even though
Yeah,
Matthew
it
continued
is.
on. The insight that Scott could have, if he was still in there, I would have loved to hear about with those later records. But we got a lot of great information from Scott about, behind the scenes stuff, and, the story about Does She Talk? And I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the whole series. Of course, that's the true highlight, you know.
Well,
Um,
I've got a good friend who's really a big Matthew Sweet fan. His name is Jimmy Ringland. James,
mhm,
if you're watching this, hello. I don't know if he watches YouTube videos about music, but anyway, he thinks that, and at the time I remember him saying this back in the mid 90s, he thinks that Matthew Sweet is at the level of the prestige artists. He thinks that he's at the same level as like Randy Newman and Lindsey Buckingham and
mhm.
who else am I leaving out? Van Dyke Parks, people like that. And I tend to agree. And I think that I thought that Matthew Sweet should have been signed to Reprise. I think he would have been perfect for that label.
Mhm. I think
And
he
I
would
think
have
that
fit right in.
they should have treated him like a prestige artist, somebody who can crank out high quality stuff past his prime.
Mhm.
And I think he's that good. And I think Russell Carter has done. I want to make sure I get his name right. Yeah, I think his manager Russell Carter has done as good as he can with what he's got, and he doesn't have a lot of money. Not doesn't
Mhm.
have a big budget. I'm assuming he doesn't have a big
I mean,
budget,
who
but
knows?
I think Matthew deserved better, and I think if he was able to work with some high caliber people, I think that he would have made some. He made good records, but he could have made some real classic records. I think it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it just played out well, you hear that whole story. A&M did, they shelved it for a year. And
And
what Scott was saying, you got to have a champion. And Scott was a champion, but you've got to have a team. You've got to have a team. And
I mean, who knows? I mean, we're speculating here, and I'm probably talking out of turn here because
no, you're all right.
nobody really knows what happened. But
No
did
one
Matthew
knows.
Sweet did he move to Nebraska because things dried up, or did things dry up because he moved to Nebraska? You
No,
know, where
I
does that all
well,
stand?
I read about that. I think he wanted to get back because he'd been in California for so long. And, like his family's all in Nebraska and all of his
Yeah.
nieces and nephews are all growing up. And he's
I don't
not,
want to pretend that I have any idea what any of those details are, but
I know, but I think he wanted to get back to his family. So, which I understand. Don't
yeah,
forget, LA's expensive, for God's sakes. He can
it
do the
is.
same thing in Nebraska that he
Right.
could do in LA. So I applaud him to, going back, trying to get,
Yeah, I totally get it. He could buy a house with cash and build a studio
yeah,
and
he's got a great house. Byron knows,
finance everything himself. I mean, yeah, I get it. That makes sense.
yeah. Oh, he's got a nice house. Byron said, yeah, it's not too far away. It's like 2 miles away from me. Byron already was looking at it.
Uh,
I'd look out for Byron. Makes me nervous. But there you go. I guess we probably went an hour. I don't have anything more to add. Yeah, I think what you just said perfectly wraps up the whole episode. Um, on our series, he's ending on a high note. If Matthew puts out something else, we'll continue on the series. But at this point,
yeah.
I think we're good. So, and as everyone knows, everything's down the playlist. Everything's in the Matthew Sweet playlist. If you're curious on what Todd and I said in the past, it's all there. So, yeah, Todd, I appreciate you doing this with me. It's been a lot of fun. There'll be a
Thanks for
lot
giving
more.
me the opportunity to talk about this. I
Well,
really
like
appreciate
I
it.
said, we've been doing this for a year, for God's
Uh-huh.
sakes. So I think, yeah, this has been great. It's been a lot of fun, but there'll be more content. You'll see Todd on the channel more. There's just so much going on right now. So,
Yeah.
all right. I
Well,
think we
thanks
can.
again.
Hey, thank you. This was fun. All right, everybody, please like, subscribe, check out our playlists on Matthew Sweet. Go to the Contrarians. Check out the playlists on the Contrarians. Uh, you can see us both on both channels. So, all
Yeah.
right, Todd Evans, thanks so much. I appreciate it.